Hey, Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, I appreciate your welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, we missed you last time. That was pretty weird, brother. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh,
That
yeah?
was yeah, that was weird. I was like 80 shows in or whatever we are, and the first time without you, I was like, man, this just isn't right. Did you listen to the show yet? It's just out.
Yeah, I think you did great, man.
Yeah,
You
came out
don't
all
even
right.
you don't need me.
Well, welcome to another edition of Through a Therapist's Eyes. He is Craig Graves. I'm Chris Gazdick, where we invite you to see the world through the lens of a real mental health and substance abuse therapist. Goal to create emotional growth, being aware this is not the delivery of therapy services in any way. Feedback and discussion is welcomed and sought on Through a Therapist's Eyes, wherever you leave messages and ratings and rankings. Let's get some dialogue going. By the way, a couple of housekeeping tasks, right? So I've kind of been talking to people recently about really hitting the little eclipse button, the little dot 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 thing on your Spotify or Stitcher or whatever. That allows you to share, and you can share through an text message, and they will be more likely to check out the show because we want to grow the show this year. Craig, that's pretty technical, brother. How'd I do?
You did good,
Did
man.
I get it right?
I think you did. Like I said, you don't need me.
Oh, let me see. What else? Got a book coming out, Through a Therapist's Eyes. You can be emotional, be safe. Unless they change the title, that's going to be coming out in a little while. You got some coaching stuff. You kind of up and running, man. What you doing with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much there. I mean, I don't have
Sweet.
my own website yet, but I do have a profile on the Unbeatable Mind site. And yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, see, speaking of being ready to go, Craig, this is the human emotional experience. And we're going to try to figure this thing out together because we got three people with us this time, not two. Very excited about it. We got on a little early to the Zoom thing. We are Zooming again. Hope the audio is good as we normally have. Uh, we were grooving, weren't we, Craig? What'd you think about those tunes?
I thought it was great. I
Yeah,
thought it was really good. Yeah,
it really was, man. It set the mood up. I am in a
definitely.
I am in a great mood as it relates to that. So, we have with us the distinct honor of Miss Estelle California, who is joining us. I guess you'd guessed it, maybe already from California.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Estelle, welcome to the show. How are you, ma'am?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very fine. Thank you.
Yeah, so right there from the website, I'm going to give you an introduction as a singer, songwriter, musician, and I loved how they you put on there a committed artist, committed. So from her website, like I said, as introduction, she's had a very long and winding journey before landing in this land of dream, California. And since then, all has become coherent and birthed into this music and texts. The road of the soul from where comes the EP. My name is freedom. Y'all have got to check this out, man. My name is freedom. It is a bluesy, deep, relaxing, peaceful, sweet set of tunes. I'm not gonna lie. So it says that I have always been led by the same light, fight, fire, and survival energy that music offers to us. This inextinguishable call has never left me, even against all. I sing and write about and for what I've always been called to: freedom, justice, truth, and my people. I hope to spread some light in this work, giving back some of the amazing beauty that I have received from the people here in the Bay. And I'm going to tell you, Estelle, I'm really happy to do this particular show because, as you know, before the mics came on, we was just chatting. This show needs to spread a little bit of light and hope in the world for all the turmoil and struggles that people are really having right now with the coronavirus. What you think about spreading some shining hope?
But that's the goal of, that's just the goal of life, right? There is nothing else than that. Even that's why the trauma, the darkness, everything, the hardship is just to overcome and to have the resilience shining.
Yeah.
If we don't give back something, then what did we do with our life, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well
I agree.
said. Well said.
That is absolutely true. Um, You go on. I guess I did a little research. I'll be honest with you. When I found you and kind of appealed, I was really kind of touched by, the depth that you have with what it is that it seems like you're really trying to do with people. And, that spoke to me because I really feel that in common. I have a real passion about mental health and working with people. And I have a sneaking suspicion that you've been through some stuff, in life that has made you into who you are today. Is that kind of a true statement?
It's a true statement. Yes.
Well, who is Estelle? What did I miss? What did I get? How about introducing yourself a little bit?
Well, first, I like when you read my words. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It does sound different. It's very nice. Well, I come from France. I came here 7 years ago. I had a long, winding journey, as you just read. And when I came to California, it was the first big step of changing the story. Changing the story in every ways. And I discovered some different ways of therapy. I discovered the freedom to reach to spirituality, which you don't have in Europe. It was so judged and so close-minded. I discovered the freedom to be yourself without judgment, as a woman, as a human being, as anything. And that's a huge freedom in your mind that you can. I mean, I could create here, I could write, I could wear a skirt, go dancing. I say silly things, but that's very big. That's a big freedom as a human being. So all this gift that California gave to me allowed me to do the hard work of healing. I had a baby too. That's also a big work to heal. And so California gave me that. That's what you read. You read everything. But what can I say? You know what I write? I'm not mental. And my brain is not always clear with all the trauma I had. And so when I write the song, when I write my text, like on my website, it's always amazingly clear and way better than what I could ever try to say.
Right.
Amazing. When you write, I think it's by example, when I forgot my trauma so many times, right? I forgot so many things, like because you can't live with everything facing all the time. But I would write. They would come back by writing. The memories, the things would come back. And that was the truth so the writing is what I do the best. Yeah. I should go back to it.
It's funny that you say that, yeah, because I mean, one of the things that we do, in the therapy world for sure is writing. It is something that channels your thoughts and throws it through in a totally different way that you just cannot do with your thinking. There's actually some brain stuff that goes on. And furthermore, Estelle, what was really neat that I heard recently, that we're all dealing with the coronavirus. We're all dealing with like cabin fever. We're all dealing with this loneliness. It's terrible, right? Well, do you know they did some studies with astronauts in preparing for the long journey to Mars and researching in the space station what helps most in dealing with those feelings? And what would you guess that would be?
Well, writing.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
it even surprised me as a therapist. I was like, wow, that literally has been researched with NASA to help with such a thing as such a lonely experience. I mean, these guys are in capsules, like just small, as big as a garage.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it takes things out of the bad looping here from another place and bring it out. And when it's out, it's not here anymore. There's something magical there. It's because it touches the subconscious, the soul. It doesn't work with will. You can't push it, like in a way. It's magical.
Greg, this lady is deep, man. I've listened to her songs more than once in the lyrics and knowing a little bit about her story. Depthy lady, I got to say up front. How about your story? I guess I'd like to start with there's a lot in a story, and what we overcome, what we live through, how it makes us what we are. Part of what we titled this is, domestic violence and discrimination, from very early on as a child. What would you be willing to share? I guess in France. By the way, I can tell I hear a little bit of an accent, ma'am. Just a touch.
I thought that was
Believe me, it's awful. I can't.
It is awesome.
I thought it was a California accent.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I wish, God, I wish.
So the little that I've picked up on in France as you were growing up, just as a little girl, I mean, what kind of things happened as far as trauma, experience that you had?
Well, I grew up in violence with a violent parent, and I have to say I don't even blame anymore because I had a kid myself, and I know if you don't work so much on yourself, you just repeat the story. And so that's why when I had my daughter, it was amazing because she would make come back some very deep layers of trauma that I would be able to like denial without her. But because when you have your own kid, I think they're just popping up very loud in my face. And then I had to heal everything because I got so sick. Everything was so crazy. So thanks to her, I had to. So I'm saying I don't blame my parents or the one I grew up with, because I know if you're not an older soul and you are able to do this very big work, you just repeat. It's normal. It's just in the subconscious. You just repeat the story. And it's funny because I was talking with a lady on Instagram who has a group about healing women from traumas and abuse. And we said, whatever I do in my life now, even if I fail everywhere, I change the story. And even just that, I'm proud. You see, I can do nothing else, but I'm proud of this thing. And that was hard because I can't say it. If I didn't work on me, I would just have done the same. It's just not because you want to, just because it's in your patterns. Your body knows only this kind of behavior functioning. Yeah.
You know, you're talking about your body kind of knows. I mean, we know a little bit about trauma and how the body remembers things. You know, the amygdala with the brain chemistry and how you smell a smell and you get it. I mean, you know, you flash back. I mean, we've talked about trauma on this show, but what's cool about that sticks out at me is the fact that you're talking about your story doesn't own you. Like you get to, I think you said you change your story, right?
I changed the story. Like my daughter will not have the same violent childhood. She's a different pattern. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of generational aspect to, you know, like addiction and domestic violence and all of that kind of stuff. So you get to change the narrative in the present.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not easy, but it's doable.
Well, so I was struck because, Craig, you know, we've talked about trauma before, but it's a very rare occasion that you come across this particular thing. And I've come across something called selective mutism before. It's not necessarily related to trauma. It's related to an anxiety condition that's pretty strong in kids. But Craig, have you ever heard of traumatic experiences that leave you essentially because of the trauma unable to physically speak?
I have not heard of that, no.
Would you say that's possible?
I believe that's possible, yeah.
Estelle, that struck me that the level of violence that you observed or, you know, the family experiences that you had, can you describe, like, you know, how that affected you early on? I mean, I know we were overcoming it, and I wanted to focus on the hope part of overcoming.
I can say it's amazing because I have to say it was not allowed to talk about it in my family. Yeah. And so the brain, I think, was very triggered from the beginning, because when you have two different realities between the one you live and the one that is allowed to be out in the world, it's very disturbing in your brain as a kid. You see what I mean? So I think my brain learned very early that first you forget, you don't deal with it, you don't talk about it because it's going to be worse. And I forgot so many times. And the thing amazing is that your body doesn't forget.
No.
Like your brain forgets, but God, your cells in your body, they're going to come back and they're going to remind you. And that was amazing. So the body and the writing would remind me, but I would forget so many times. Yeah. So like, it came back later when I was maybe, I don't know, like 18, it came back to me. And then I forgot.
Age 18?
Yeah. And then I forgot again. And well, now I'm fully healed almost, and now I own it, you see. But and even when it came back, I had a therapist in France. I told her I don't want. At the beginning, I spoke to her at the third person. I was talking to she, the little girl. I could not
Really?
say I. I could not say I for a long time.
Oh, wow.
It took me a long journey to be able to own, because you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to have a past that way. You don't want to own this. But for me, at least.
Yeah, this
I
didn't
could not-
happen. I didn't experience it. It wasn't me. It wasn't my life, right?
I mean, I didn't, it was coming back by writing, by flash, but I didn't want it to be my story.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to have it come back, then to own it. And now I'm grateful, like my song says, but God, you see 20 years in between, right? To be grateful and to say it, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to the topic of gratitude. I wanted to get there for sure with that song. Is awesome. It affected you with eating also? Like how did that happen?
Oh, that is, because it's the amygdala thing. When I accumulate traumas and got the babies and we got a fungus at the hospital, and how do you know the eating thing, by the way?
Well, I tried to do a good job as a host, man.
Nowhere.
Is it nowhere?
Nowhere.
So you're saying I did a good job?
Did you put a big thing in my kitchen somewhere?
I know I don't. I swear there's no cameras, there's no mics anywhere. I ain't that advanced at all. I think it might have been on a show that I listened to. Actually, you were on a show. It might have been actually you were sharing that.
I clicked about it quickly. So my brain at one point got so saturated with when you are in fight or flight and it's high stress, you provoke some heavy chemicals that are damaging your brain and and the brain controls all your body. So you think it's your thought, but I had in my journey learned that the brain is not what you think. No, the brain controls all your functioning, the adrenals, the hormones, the digestion. So when it doesn't work, nothing works, right? So after my daughter, we had also a fungus at the hospital.
You had what?
We got a fungus at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Then I was in a place you have no idea, but sometimes you have to go very, very deep. So then you have no other choice than to deal with the load of shit you have, if I can say it this way. Because as long as you can handle it and just carry it, then you prefer to not cope with it. But I got so down, I had to deal with everything.
Yeah.
So I had no more adrenals, no more periods. I could not digest any food. It was a... And I have to say about this that I did a few things that saved me. But the first thing, I did a brain training to rewire the brain, the amygdala, so I would not be triggered by any trigger, because I could not hear music anymore. You have to realize that I could not hear sound anymore.
You couldn't hear sound?
Yeah, my brain would be triggered by any stimulus of the normal life. The sounds, the food, the energy of people, the Wi-Fi, I mean, you name it.
Right.
And when I did the brain training in Canada, then it was 2 years, but just the full week, I was the worst. I could not stand in the room listening to the people talking the video. I was in trouble.
Because it was just triggering you. You were just, yeah. What I hear you saying is like, my gosh, when this came out, you said you didn't remember, and you began to sing and write, and it began to help you to deal with the repression. So you start getting all these memories. And, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people with trauma, they don't want to talk about it. Like you said, it's not my story. It didn't even happen. I'll have people tell me, oh, that was so long ago, it doesn't affect me anymore. And in my head, I'm like, oh, no, like, yeah, it does. And so what I'm hearing is that when you got into treatment, sounds like you did some biofeedback and whatnot. Do you know what?
Oh, I did that, but that didn't work. What worked is this brain training. Is good. Rewire the brain is DNRS, and it's like 1 hour something per day, and you take a trigger, something that triggers you, like the food or the sound or the smell, the chemicals, and then you do a round of you go to good memories, and you try to make your brain associate good chemicals with this thing that it triggers him. Right. It's a long work, but I think first, when I understood the system, it was a big shift, because at the beginning, I could not do nothing anymore. I had no adrenals. I could not do nothing. I forget even me how bad I was, right? But I know this
Right.
brain training changed also the understanding, because I had no understanding of my condition. So
Right.
when I was, oh, it's all the brain, I was, oh, wow, it's so coherent now, you know? Then it's not useful to take medication for my adrenals, my thing. No, it's just the brain. We have to, and then I had stem cells in my brain 2 times.
Really?
And that was, oh, woo,
Not fun.
that was magical. God, after that, I could eat, I could have my period. That was a huge shift in my life, the stem cells, yeah.
Yeah, that is neat, because when you do recognize what happened to you and begin dealing with the memories and being direct with the violence and, whatever, sometimes people are dealing with sexual traumas and, just unspeakable things, and you feel it. You really feel it when the story comes out. And what I was saying is, I think that's why people don't want to do that. I mean, people are terrified to come into a therapy experience and share their experiences and whatnot.
But you have to be ready to it. It's hard.
Right.
And I think it's important to say it out once, so I think you remember. But then also, I think there are other ways to heal, which are not talkative anymore. You see, the therapy is part of the healing, but I know for me, like the spirituality helped me tremendously. Like, because
Yeah.
it did help me to not be scared anymore, to work on understanding the lesson, and that I was not cursed. Like it was
Right.
just a lesson. And I mean, that helped me. That's why California helped me a lot, because I could learn and study spirituality and the cycle of life and the karma. And I mean, that myself helped me so much.
Yeah.
It was
So,
all together. You see, all what I did. If I did only the therapy spoken, also I have to say something, right?
okay.
What helped me a lot is that in California, therapists do not speak the same words as in France. In California, people would in France, they don't separate kids from the violent parents. It's very, in France, it's not, they don't talk about rape, they don't talk about abuse, they don't talk about nothing. And here you do have rights, you do talk about it. So it's amazing. So my
Okay.
therapist would say
So let
that,
me just get that real quick. Stella, let me
yeah,
get that real quick. So in France, the difference culturally is that you said they don't separate the kids from the adults. What do you mean by?
no, when you have a violent parent, they are
Right.
never separated, never.
Oh, there's no DSS. They don't take kids out of the home. There's not as much of a
There,
societal protection.
there is no outcome for what you do.
Got you.
You can rape a woman, you can, I mean, there is no boundaries, no rules, no, you are just harassed as a woman. It's just a big, I mean, it's nice for holidays if you want, but as a civilization, as a society, it's a disaster.
Because the kid is just stuck.
Because the kid is stuck, because as a woman you
Oh,
have no
wow.
rights, because you have no rights. So
Oh,
here
wow.
in America, people are complaining it's too rigid, but there is no way to compromise with that.
Wow.
It's like racism for me. You cannot compromise. You cannot say, I can be a bit of that, I can touch your butt, but no, it's no. You see, that's why
Yeah.
in California, there is no pickup when I go. There is no, it's very rigid, but I love it. I mean, it's a freedom. I can go out, dance and skirt, be myself as a woman. It was huge freedom for me, you know. In France, if you do that, you have to pay for it. It's awful. It's very,
Really?
yeah, that's Europe. That's the way it is in Europe. You can't walk as a woman. I mean, look at your face, but
Yeah. I'm like, what is she talking about, Craig? Have you ever heard of anything like that, Craig, as far as some of the cultural aspects?
Not like that. No.
well, you would go with your girlfriend in Europe, you would see that she is, when she walks in the street, they are all turning their head, staring at her, commenting on her body. It's like, yeah.
Well, Craig,
Wow.
you might lose your stuff, would you? Like, yo, boom, boom.
No,
Yeah, because that's tough. I hear what you're saying, and that honestly, that puts a little bit of context for me in, like, when you're going through a violent home and and
But it's normal.
sexual impropriety.
In France, they are still hitting their kids. It's a normal, as a way of education.
Yeah, yeah. Now, is that gotten any better, or is that still kind of the case? Are we talking about 20 years ago?
I'm not that.
I know, right? No, stop. Well, you're also not 20 years old either. We're all good here.
maybe it's getting better. I know it's because people are talking. It was a Women's Month history because I've been raped too, right? But I didn't even know it was a rape because I thought it was just deserved. This is what you talk about, the shame in your questions. And I was, oh, he knows. Yeah, So it is just when it begins in the culture, the mistreatment, all of that, it's just like the way you don't know your rights anymore. You don't know what you deserve. You don't know, it's just a big fog everywhere. You see what I mean? You don't call things.
Well, yeah, in the States, we have lots of issues around, alcoholism and various traumas and stuff as well. And, when you're young, that as normal. That's just the way people get along. That's just the way people relate. And then you get a little bit older. And as you say, in, California and the States and stuff, you kind of begin to realize, you do a couple sleepovers at friends' houses and you're like, well, wait a minute, every family doesn't really operate this way. And so you begin to open up your eyes. And it sounds like when you came to California or maybe Canada as well, like culturally, you just like it. I mean, it sounds like it hit you like like a bomb, like, oh, this is totally different.
You're like, wow.
Wow.
Also when I came here, I saw places where you have people from all the colors, all the gender, and no thought of prejudice at all in the room. And that was like, wow. Like the first time when I came here by myself, I went out to see the music place here. And I went in a place where there were a transgender woman, gothic, who was singing like hard rock on a classical piano. And she had the long hair. I was from France, open, but from France, right? And I was there, and the room was crowded, and she was singing on the stage like she was anybody. And I was,
you wanted to do that.
And I was amazed. And I was amazed because nobody would look at her like she was nothing special.
Yeah.
She was just like anybody in the room. And it was a big lesson of humanity to me, like a huge lesson. I was, God, this is the way it should be.
Like you can be accepted.
Every difference is the color, the woman, the skirt. We are all human beings. That's amazing.
Right. What a neat way to see a lesson for that, to see, somebody who looks quite different. And that is one of the strengths. That's really cool to hear you talking about that, Estelle, because I guess you said you've been in the States about 7 years, right? Okay. Because in our country, in our dialogues, I pick up on like just a tremendous amount of angst and anger and frustration about prejudice. Like we have a lot of, back and forth issues about discrimination and prejudice and, civil rights. I mean, back in the 60s, I mean, we transform as a nation. And I think a lot of that is very much left over for sure. Like racism is not dead at all. So it's really fascinating to hear your perspective kind of comparing that.
First, I am in California, in Oakland, right?
Okay, right. True.
That's
good point.
The first point. And the second point is that, of course, there is so much work to do, right? And I think we're going to have for the next 100 years, it's going to be you see what I mean? It's a long work. But the difference from Europe is that in Europe, the Black man will never be French or European. He will always be African. Here, even the most racist people cannot deny that Black people are American.
Yeah.
You like them or not, but they are American.
Okay.
Even me with my accent, I'm American. Right? but that seems silly, but it's a big difference.
Yeah.
It's another level of racism.
Right. And so in Europe, I heard you say that, right? Like Black folks are always African. They are not French.
They will never, ever belong. It's such old countries with old culture. Like even me, French girl, if you don't belong to the same village for like 400 years, you don't belong there.
Right.
It's very deep. It's not even colors. It's just even between them. It's very like old. The gift and the privilege of America, it's a new country. It's a new country made of immigrants. So you can't try to stop the story now, But even if you want to stop the story now, it's still a country of immigrants. You see what I mean?
Right.
It's not France, which is not England. You see, maybe, but like way, way before.
It is so steeped in history over there. Yeah,
And
I get
then
that.
go to the history. Here, I mean, it is a melting pot, and this is the way in California. It's magnificent, but even everywhere, right?
Yeah. That's fascinating. I tell you, I got to get to some things before we totally run out of time. I think I could just talk to you for hours, ma'am, and have a great time.
I saw your question. I thought, oh, we're gonna talk, my friend.
We have no questions. No, we're just gonna chat. What about the name Estelle California? I want to give you something. Did you know that when you changed it, or did your stage name? How should I say that? You changed your name, or you created a stage name? What is that?
Well, I always knew since I was a kid in this big fog that Estelle was important. Like, was the part I had, because it means star. So it was kind of a light in my big fog darkness I was going through. I had, but my name is Star. There may be something there, you see?
Oh.
And then I had the name of my dad, but I never grew up with him. And then I had the name of my ex-husband, who was a big German name. You know, he's American, but he has a German name. And I was, so I tried to have Estelle but it was taken as a singer.
Oh, it was.
So I thought, what is the only name I can belong to is California, and was done.
That's cool.
I don't belong to no guy, no man. I belong to myself. I mean, this is journey. It's not to belong to somebody else anymore. So California is, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna see if I can't get you for the second time with something new. Did you know that there is an Estelle, California, like a city?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you find that out?
Well, on Google.
Right.
But also what is beautiful is that California comes from a black queen, Khalifa. He was an African queen, and I don't know how the story exactly, but that's beautiful to me. That's the Khalifa name is the California. It's a beautiful black queen. It's beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just got done watching Hell on Wheels as a show on Netflix, and it was all about the development of the railroads and how the railroads were built and everything. And Estelle, California is a little trivia for the listening audience. It was a little bit of a loading town for the railroad workers and stuff. And so, did you know that?
Well, I saw it on Google, Wikipedia. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not hitting you with anything awesome, but I was proud of myself. Gratitude is such a cool thing. You know, you hear people talking about having an attitude of gratitude, and I would tell you that people ask me about tools for mental health all the time. Having a sense of gratitude, and I mean, the gratefulness that sings from your soul, I would say, even in just talking to you, like it's so clear, loud and clear to me. Is such a powerful, freeing, healing theme that I want to think that as being one of the biggest mental health tools. People ask me about, how can I manage anxiety? How can I manage depression? What can I do to deal with my marriage? How do I get my bipolar under control? What do I do with my trauma? How do I get substance abuse dealt with? I mean, on and on and on it goes, right? Well, an attitude of gratitude seems like that's one of the big cores that I pick up in talking to you. Is that true?
Well, of course it's true, but I would not say an attitude myself. I would say a work. Like, especially me, I was not born in gratitude, believe me. It's a work. It's not, I mean, maybe there are people who are just dipping into it and it's good for them, but for me at least, it's a work. It's like I remind myself all the time, each time I loop in negative patterns again, anxiety, I go back to gratitude. It's a will thing, gratitude.
Okay, so by work, you mean you have to be purposeful about focusing yourself, maybe even every day.
Oh,
right?
Way more than every day, my friend, all the time. Each time, because now I'm so aware of my thought because of the brain training, because of all my journey, right? I've been, watching my thoughts so much. So each time I loop on something like is a bit anxiety things, I send a blessing out, gratitude. I do that all the time.
Right.
So because people think it's like you meditate and you are grateful and it's a beautiful story and but no, not for me at least. No, it's a work.
Well, I am so glad that you put it that way because, people, I think, have the misperception of like, oh, yeah, people that say they're grateful, they walk around all gleeful and happy all the time. And, they're just so grateful about this and that and the other. And I hear you saying like, no, man, I get my negative thoughts, I pull the gratitude back out. I get my anxiety thoughts, I pull the gratitude back out. I get tripped about coronavirus and I get my gratitude back out. Right?
Non-stop, non-stop.
Yeah.
So maybe one day it's going to be more, it's better. It's getting better, right? I'm getting better at it. It's more natural. It's more, my vibration is better. But because of my daughter who was raised in it, for her, it's going to be better. But sometimes she tells me, I want to say what I'm sad about, what I'm happy about. It's just the way we are, right? And the brain naturally if you don't train him like a pet, is going to focus on the anxiety, on what is bad.
Yes.
Because this is the survival mode. So if you don't work against the wave, then you will go there. It's just natural. It's just
say more about that. That's right, dead smack on. Say more about the natural wave and how your brain does that.
The brain is done to make you survive. It's like a reptilian, I don't know how you say, like an animal thing. And so to have you survive, he's trained naturally to focus on the bad thing, the trigger, what is potentially harming you, what is painful, who has been bad to you. I mean, all the bad shit, your brain is going to go there naturally if you don't train it.
Yes, it's amygdala, so you can live, so you can survive, yeah.
That's not the way life is. That's the way your brain is like a dog. I mean, I have 3 dogs. My dogs, even they are they are naturally trained to protect me, to defend me. It's not me who trained them, believe me, but this is how they are. They bark at every butterfly in the backyard.
I haven't heard those dogs yet. Before the mics came on, she said, listening audience, listen. Estelle's like, hey, listen, I have 3 dogs. I'm like, that's fine. You got to get these dogs in interview.
We're so blessed, my friend, to not hear them. So if you don't train your brain like a stubborn pet, because in France, it's such an intellectual country. I've been raised like the brain was the best thing in your life, like your thoughts, where the power was in your thoughts, everything. And I knew because I was so messy there anyway, so messy in my brain, it was not true. And when I came here, I understood, I was right. It's not true. The real thing is here, and you are not your thought. You are not, because your thought can come from the TV, from family, from so many, and your brain just repeats in loops, right? He hears something bad, and he goes there, and my brain, believe me, so happy to stay there forever. And then I could feel my body sinking, like my symptoms coming back, and the adrenals, and all of the cycle, right?
Right.
So, no.
Right. It's funny. I want you to listen to one of our shows. I really think you will so appreciate this lady named Stephanie Fast that was on our show. It was such a joy to talk with her because, I mean, the trauma that she went through was just unbelievable. I mean, the short of it was she was left off in, oh God, Craig, save me. What, South Korea?
Yeah, she was in South Korea. We were speaking about racism earlier. Her father was an American soldier. And apparently, children who are mixed that way are, maybe they're not anymore, but at one time they were looked down upon in South Korea. So she would never be accepted. So her mother put her on a train when she was 4 years old and told her uncle would be there to meet her at the other train station. And the uncle never showed. The uncle never came. So this lady, Stephanie, she's from 4 years old to 12 years old, basically survived until she was rescued by missionaries. And, her story changed at that point.
Literally just ranged the countryside, hill to hill, living in war huts made out of mud, eating bugs. I mean, it was just unbelievable story of trauma. But what I was getting at when I listened to her talk live, just like you're talking about, she talked about, her thoughts. They would come back. Her emotions would storm surge. And she got good at managing that. But I remember very much telling her, Stephanie, I hope you're still listening, man, because I still want to follow her around with a hamburger and just get her schedule. Because she was like, still, when she's running to show, and she would get hungry, she would remember that being that starving 5-6-year-old child roaming the countryside. That's why I wanted to follow her around with a hamburger.
That's why you see the body doesn't forget.
Right.
Like your brain can deny everything and forget everything, but the body remembers everything. It's amazing.
But you learn how to manage that is the main point here. Like you right?
I mean, now because I'm healed, I'm functioning better, I can't. But I mean, there were a time I was not even functioning enough to do that, right?
Right.
But even now, I could look like normal. I still work on that. I work on that all day long, yeah?
I just debated in my head. So, yes, you do look normal, but you don't sound normal. And then I'm like, I can't say that. That would be a terrible thing to say. No, you are a beautiful person inside and out. It seems like, honestly, I think I could say just talking to you. It's I guess, midpoint break here. It's just awesome to have made your acquaintance and to talk with you. I'm honored by that. I want to say that out loud. Yeah.
I always knew this happened for a reason. It's not, that's what the song Grateful says, right? The day I understood, I'm grateful because this gave me my music. I mean, because also I have to say the biggest trauma I had, it's not that thing. It was when I was 21, I was beginning to remember the trauma and to write and to sing and to do the wild I am now. And they enclosed me in a private place. And they gave me 10 times medication. And I was a veggie. I was a veggie for like years. And it took me like 10 years to recover. That's why my brain got so, because I had 10 times the thing that I could not say my name. That's why the song I Know My Name, because I could not say my name. I could not pronounce words in my mouth anymore. So that's the European Middle Age I've been through. And when I came here and I began to write again, I told my therapist, are they going to close me again? I mean, I don't want to write anymore. They're going to close me again. He said, no, in California, I said, you can be gay, you can write, you can do whatever. And I was, thank you. I was very scared of writing again, saying the truth again. So now I'm saying this thing, because when I'm saying this thing,
did we just lose our train of thought? I don't know. I'm just listening. Let me transition a little bit before we run out of time, because I want to get to the awesome thing with the songs and the EP that you got out. You know who, just listening to you, that reminds me of a very foundational song that I listen to. I'm sure you've heard of the amazing voice and beautiful lady called Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, her song, The Greatest Love of All, to me she had some chops too. I mean, she could just bellow that out in such an amazing, powerful voice. And I hear you talking a lot about recovering and loving yourself. What do you think about her song and that concept, and how, I mean, I hear you talking about that's been your journey to love and accept yourself.
Oh, okay. Where do I begin with? It's all step by step, right? I think that when especially me, because it was so long, you can't deal with everything together. So first you heal layers by layers, and then the gratitude and the loving yourself, they are coming now. Like, I'm still working on that a lot, right? Because of course, when you are a kid like me and then a woman like me, I mean, you don't, and also it's not even their fault, in France, in the education, you are raised to hate yourself. It's just in the system. You are raised to judge yourself, it's the way it is. It's so you are raised by your parents, and then you raise your kids this way. It's just the way, and it's like even disgusting. I remember when I came here, I was loving myself. Blah. It was
I'm not totally following you. So you're raised to judge yourself harshly.
Yeah.
Be critical of yourself?
Yeah.
Just as a kind of a cultural norm?
But don't do this face. It's normal, yeah.
Really? Okay.
I mean, it's normal to be, I even that's funny. You see, the culture is so far from each other. Yeah, it does. You are hard to think that you are nothing. It's very Catholic. It's a Catholic.
Oh, gotcha.
It's Catholic
I
country.
was raised Catholic. Not a lot of people know that. I was raised in the Catholic Church and whatnot, and now I get what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there's Catholic guilt and shame and a lot of, hellfire and brimstone, and you're going to be, yeah, I get you now.
it's the same, but that's very cultural. It goes at the school. It's the system is this way. You never, I mean, loving yourself is disgusting where I come from. You see, it's like a sin. It doesn't happen. So in the brain, it does need the time to get, oh, it's not disgusting. Oh, maybe I could do it. Maybe I'm gonna work on it, and maybe I'm gonna begin to love myself. Yeah, it's gonna begin, but it's so many layers. It's like a journey, like the gratitude. It begins, then it's a way of living. Then it's you don't switch. You see what I mean? From black to white in 1 second.
Yeah, it's almost like you got a double whammy. I'm hearing you kind of say, there's some of this cultural stuff that we get with, prejudice in our country and Catholic guilt and different shame-based experiences. But then you also have the trauma experience, which also is driving like this secrecy. I can't let anybody know this happened. This, I am such a bad person. I've done something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I mean, there's a lot of layers there, isn't there?
So many. That's why you don't heal once this way. You heal layers by layers. It's painful, it's long, it's hard, it needs help, but it's the only way to move forward.
It's worth it.
Yeah, there is, for me at least, there were no choice.
Yeah,
like there were no choice. But you're right, it's so many layers, and when you're raised as a kid like me, you are used that you deserve that. You are worthless, and because kids can't blame their parents, it's not natural. So it's always your own fault, and you love your parents. It's whatever they do, you always love them as a kid. You're not judged. You can't judge properly. You see what I mean? So it's loving myself. I'm still working on it. Yeah.
Well, and we forget to love ourselves and accept ourselves. From day, like you said, with gratitude, day to day. It's easy to forget. You learn it, and you forget it, and you pick it back up a little bit more, and you kind of keep going, huh?
And when you can love yourself and forgive yourself, I think then you can love other people. I think that by example, Trump, he hates himself. He would not say it, he would not own it, but he does. People hateful, they do hate themselves.
Right.
It works together, I think.
I see your point. Yeah, it is very hard to give and to be kind when you're not really giving to yourself and taking care of yourself first. And it's the same kind of concept, right? Craig, let me check in with you, man. I want to get to talking about some of the songs and some of this awesome vibe stuff we got going on. What are you thinking? What are you hearing? What are you picking up on?
I'm hearing a lot of good stuff, man. It's just interesting to listen to you two talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the cultural differences to me are amazing. I didn't realize that it was that way in Europe in a lot of cases. And hello there.
Hi.
The stem cells in the brain I thought was an interesting comment. I'd like to hear more about, and also the therapy from Canada. That sounds like an interesting thing too. So I think there's a lot going on here.
For a therapist, there is a lot going. For a therapist, I am an amazing case because I have been through so much, and I can't even remember it. I'm not even okay, but it's amazing. I know it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I guess one thing that I would like to ask is, like, Estelle, this gratitude practice that you have, I love that, and I actually have a little gratitude practice of my own where I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every day in my morning journal. Do you have a daily practice I know you cultivate gratitude, but I guess a lot of people, when they get into these loops, they just go. Yep. How do you realize you're there? How do you know you're in a loop and you need to get out of it?
Well, because of this brain training thing, I had at the beginning, when I didn't have the stem cells, my brain was so sensitive. I had no more layers, and I would physically feel my body dive when I would have bad cycle of thought. Like if I would think like bad cycles of loops, I would feel getting weak. It was amazing. It's amazing lessons for me, journey to see in me how the effect is so. I mean, it does work the same with everybody, but with me it was so strong that I was very aware. Like, oh, I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting foggy. Oh, what's going on? You see what I mean?
Yes.
So that was change that.
Wow.
So
So you actually had a physical response to the thoughts.
yeah. But I think still now, even if by example, now we have the virus thing, and now I kind of work with my gratitude. I'm back in my routine with my daughter. It's been like almost 3 weeks, but my body gives symptoms. My body sends symptoms of like, no, Estelle, don't denial. It's not that cool. You see, the body doesn't want me to denial again. So the body, I have inflammations again. I have like chemicals in my body again. Like the liver doesn't digest the thing. So my body is back in fight or flight. And even if my mind is like, oh, gratitude, positive, I'm cool, it's gonna work. The body is not. Remember, I see the thing. I'm not denying with you. So so I'm still aware of that with my body. It was a pain, but it was a gift because it helped me to learn. You see what I mean?
I do. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of type of therapies that are sort of in the moment, existentially experienced, like Gestalt therapy, and I've not really been much into like the body energy stuff, like Reiki therapy and Reiki experiences. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. My co-host Craig here is also into doing martial arts and doing physical activity, and I hear you with a lot of that. Singing for you seems like that's the piece that you found where you could get that body energy almost and bring it out. Is that a true statement?
For me, the most healing was the dancing.
Oh, okay.
Because when I dance, I am not here anymore at all. It's like the body follows the music and there is no more loop here at all.
See, what's funny about that, Estelle? Okay. Now, you can only see me from like shoulders up. You don't want to see me dance, okay? You don't want to see me dance. I have like no rhythm. I did play the trumpet, by the way. We have a fellow musician thing between you and I a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like to say the trumpet leads the band, but I'm sure that is the case. The point that I want to make, though, is that for you it was singing. We all have our gifts. We all have our skills. For Craig, it's martial arts, and he does working out. For me, I'm a water guy. Like I'm in my kayak. I'm going tomorrow as well, Saturday.
I love the water.
Yes. People have to find what they do to let their body get into the explosion to it. So you deal with the trauma, you deal with the anxiety, you deal with the shame. Oh, what was that? The dog?
Not my daughter. I don't want to know.
You gotcha. Anyway, I'm saying find a way to release that energy. And for you, it was dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That takes I go in my head when I dance. I'm like a complete opposite is what I was getting at. So,
well, when I sing, I am. When I sing, I would judge myself and because it's more mental. But the dancing is, the music takes on my body and then it's amazing. It's so healing for me. It was amazing to do that for me. Yeah.
Wow. So that's a good transition. Let's get to singing a little bit. So what happens? Do you get critical of your voice when you're singing? You say that doesn't take you out of it. What happens when you're popping?
I've been trained classical opera singer in a judgmental country, in the most judgmental way of teaching the voice. The voice is so intimate. The voice is so fragile. The voice is so precious. The voice is what you have the most vulnerable thing in the world. So when you're being to be judged on your voice, it's so hard to go there anymore. The voice is very hard. It's very subtle. It should be a knowledge to, but it's not. It's a very subtle instrument. It's not like the piano. I play the piano. I don't care. You can say I play bad. I don't care.
No, you're not worried about it. Yeah.
I don't care. But the voice is like being naked in front of everybody, and people don't realize how it is very vulnerable. And also, it's not something you can push with will. When the voice doesn't want to come out, it's not going to come out. It's something, it has to work with happiness and positivity and joy and all of that. And it is affected by every system in your body. So for me to gain my voice back, I had to work all this healing step by step because I wanted to sing. I wanted to do these songs.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a long to have this voice because I had no voice for a long time.
So I got to ask, I'm listening to that and I'm kind of like, wow. So what happens when you're performing? I mean, you know, when you're on stage or you're giving a show and all of that, like, what kind of mental prep do you do to really allow that to genuinely come out?
Well, that's the goal. The goal is to channel. But that's the goal to this music, right? It's not about me. It's the goal of the gratitude song. Like I had to go through these lessons to be able to give back something, the resilience. Like when you have to face hardship, then you have something back to give, but it's not about you anymore. So on stage, the goal is to channel some energy and to know it's not about me anymore. So to get out of this small mind thing of judging, and to get something bigger, it's about giving. And when you are in this place, then you can see the difference.
So when you're getting ready to perform, you are charging yourself up to get out of yourself and understand what you're doing. What you're doing is you're really giving to that audience or even just to that person.
I have to say something. The big picture, the concept of big picture, I don't know if it's clear for you. It's for my spiritual teacher. The big picture is the thing that saves me in all situations. Like instead of seeing me in this situation, I see the cycle of life. I see what I'm here to do in this life. I see what I'm here to give. It's not about me anymore. And when it's not about you anymore, your small self, then you're not scared anymore. The fear can't touch you anymore. It's very different perspective. And that is as much as the gratitude, something I go back to all the time. The big picture, like this virus, big picture.
Right.
It's here to teach us something. We're going to get something out of it at a long scale somewhere. Big, because if you say in the narrow vision of our small self, I think I go back to fear. You see, when the old patterns come back all the time.
Wow, that's very powerful and telling for the time. Because if people are just right now freaking out about the coronavirus this week, this month, they're going to go to the grocery store, they're going to buy toilet paper, they're going to overload on stuff they don't need, fill the refrigerators, freak out with gas. It's just, it's not needed in the big picture.
Well, the big picture helps so much to deal with the everyday life. Yeah, for me at least.
That is beautiful, man. Tell me about My Name is Freedom, the EP, Star, Who Are You, Black is the True Light, Grateful. I love the song Grateful. I'm going to tip my hand. But I want to ask you, what's your favorite one and why? That's a simple question, isn't it? Do you have a favorite, really?
No, so I don't have a favorite, right? Yeah. But the question is, like, if I had one to keep, one to sing only, that's what my producer asked me, it would be the Star song. It was not called Star, it was called I Know My Name before the production. And when now you know the story a bit more, you understand that I Know My Name is a huge statement for me. Yes. And I think that as any victim, like the slave had no name, right? When you want to abuse somebody to the extreme level, you just take their identity back away from them. And so this knowing your identity as a victim is a huge step of recovery. Like, I know my story, I own it, nobody's going to mess with my mind anymore, no narcissistic is going to come put a mess in there. I know my name and nobody's going to change it. My name is Freedom, my name is Revenge, my name is Song of Justice and Forever Is. And so this song Star is one of the first one I received, so I channeled my soul, my subconscious. Alma, 1 second. And I had to sing this song only on my piano for 3 years of healing. And I was getting crazy right by myself, on my piano, sick. But I knew in a way, I always have a knowing somewhere that I had to go through this, to do what I want to do. I had to heal. And this song is a magical mantra. When you have been victim, you sing this song, God. Even me now, right? When I lose myself, it does happen. When the things happen, I go back to this song and that God, big picture. Like nothing else matter. I know my name. Nothing is going to change that. And so, also the song is a mantra, and it does also announce all my life tasks. What I care about the people, the blackness, the justice. This song says it all. It's the mother of all my songs to come, that came, everything. My life, it's the everything.
It's it. Yeah, that's powerful, man. That really, like I said, man, listening to your music, hearing you talk and being so honest with how you feel, uh, and 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 what you've transformed, and the beauty of giving that to other people through hope. And what was it that we started out with? The main things, freedom, justice, truth, and my people. Like, you ain't messing around. Is that what you mean by being a committed artist? Like, you are on this.
Nothing else matter.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've been in such an isolation as a kid with no voice, nothing. Uh, I- it is now in a way that for me nothing else matter. Like, it's not about music. I did a social retreat, no, a spiritual retreat, and the teacher asked what would make your soul proud at a soul level. What would make you proud of at a soul level? And what came right away was not being famous or the big stage. No, no, no. It was social change. God, social change. This is, I am here, so I would so the reality I grew up with will not happen again. Like this racist violence that was the normal way to be.
Yep.
I do not want that to be normal again.
Here, here. I applaud you. I started a little bit of a tradition on my show that whenever people are sharing personally, I give them a high five. And now I know you're like in California, so we're not going to be able to do that. But I'm going to count us down to 3, and we'll give a clap together because, again, I always say this when I have people sharing. Like, it's not easy to share. You said something before the mics turned on that, you're not afraid anymore to do that. And I hope that people listening, can hear your courage and get a piece of that, because there is great freedom and power in sharing your story and then taking ownership and then reforming your story to what it is. So I thank you for sharing. Let's do a high five from East Coast to West Coast, right? Ready? 1, 2, 3. I love it.
I want to say it's not easy. It's not easy, and it doesn't come right away. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, you need help. It's not like you have to talk, you talk. It's a long journey to get there.
And we go little by little, just taking the first step sometimes.
Yeah, and so
it's
many
really
steps.
Important.
Because before you could ask me, I could not do it. Not because I didn't want to, because I could not do it. So it does seem maybe easy, and I seem to be happy and all of that, but don't misbelieve. It's not like this. It's a long work, so much work behind it. Yeah.
You know what I think the most important therapy session is? The first one.
Oh, when you go for the first time?
The first one. It's just that sometimes it's just one step to begin taking a journey,
Because it's the first step of acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And I think that as long as you don't acknowledge the problem, there is no way to heal nothing. The first step of everything is just to name it. Say, oh, there is a problem here. I'm going to do something. I don't know what, but I'm going to try. That's the first step to everything.
Well, thank you so much. Keep on singing. I love your tunes. I got to get some of that here. Spotify. How do they find it?
Everywhere. It's
everywhere. Estelle California. Everywhere. I love it.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's beautiful. That's a great way to take us out. It's musical.
It's awful. I can't take it out.
No, it's musical.
I'm so sorry. Oh, I found.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Craig, how would you summarize this, man? I don't even know how to summarize this. Summarize this up a little bit and get us to take out of here. Your voice, you muted yourself. You muted yourself.
There we go.
We got a phone ringing. We got a mute going on.
It's a real thing. It's, yeah.
Sum us up, Craig. Take us out of here.
I think that just we could take just being grateful away from this, man. I was grateful to speak to you, Estelle, and looking forward to listening to more of that music. I really enjoyed the little bit of time we had beforehand, before the show started listening. So looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you for everything. Yeah.
All right, Craig, I guess we'll see him next week. We're going to talk about some, I don't know what order we got here. Our order of shows has been all screwed up, hasn't he?
It has. We'll get it worked out. All right.
All
See you guys soon.